Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Plutus IAS. Today, we are going to have a discussion on the tropical cyclones. In the previous video, I have discussed about the temperate cyclones. We have gone through the stages. कि कितनी stages हैं temperate cyclones की, how it has been formed. Now, since you know how the temperate cyclones are, how they are formed, what are the stages, what are its characteristics. Now, when you are focusing on the tropical cyclones, you will understand that, good evening, Ishan, it is important that you should know the difference between each one of them. अगर आप ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन पढ़ रहे हैं और आप टेम्परेट को साथ में लेकर चलेंगे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू हैव डन टेम्परेट साइक्लोन, ओनली इन दैट केस आई एम टेलिंग यू, in that case if you are doing it, the clarity that you will get will be more. The clarity that you are going to get through this is going to be more. Reason being, because whenever the question are being asked, I have seen the PYQs, you all have seen the PYQs, how the question are asked, they are not asked directly. Sometimes applied, sometimes they will ask that what is the difference, what are the different characteristics between the tropical and the temperate cyclones. Now, since you have done the temperate cyclones, how will be the discussion? The discussion is going to be on the tropical first, and then I'll be discussing about the temperate and tropical differences, right? Now, let's discuss first how the tropical cyclones can develop over an area, right? अगर आपको tropical cyclones को develop करना है, then what do you need? You need certain conditions to be there. What all conditions are there? First thing is that there should be Coriolis force. And we have done climatology very well, and we have seen it there that in climatology, Coriolis force, we know that it is not possible that the Coriolis force can be same in each part of the latitudes, right? Online students, all of you, are you there with me? Right? So it is not possible that the Coriolis force can be same in each latitudes. Reason being, because the intensity differs. And why the intensity it differs? Because the rotational speed of the Earth is not same everywhere. Although we take the average, but that average is not same. The average means what? You are taking the total amount, the total calculation of the rotational speed of the Earth. But if I talk about particular latitudes, if I talk about the specific latitude, then they are going to get different. So if you can recall from the previous lecture, your gravitational force is maximum where? Because rotational speed is related to what? Gravitational force. And then Coriolis force is related to what? Simple रखते हैं, सीधा बात करते हैं. Coriolis force सबसे ज्यादा कहाँ पर है? पोल्स पे. सबसे कम कहाँ पर है? इक्वेटर पे. इससे इतना ही याद रखना है आपको. ओके, लिख लीजिए. Just write it down here. Coriolis force is minimum at the equator, maximum at the poles. That's it. You don't get into why it is like that and why the Coriolis. Only one thing you have to remember, that Coriolis force is dependent upon the rotational speed of the Earth, right? And the relation between them is inversely proportional. That is important from prelims. Why I'm discussing? Because previous time bhi ye question पूछा गया था 2024 में. There was a question on the Coriolis force directly being asked. It was directly asked from the NCERT, right? So the high chances are there that it can again be questioned in the next examination, next set of examination that we are going to give. Okay, so this is what the the Coriolis force is minimum here. Now, for the tropical cyclones to develop, can I say it is important that your Coriolis force should be present? The Coriolis force should be present? Answer is yes, it should be present. But your Coriolis force is not propulsed, it's not developing well in this area. What is this area? 0 to 8 degree, 0 to 8 degree, which is north and south. It is not developing well in this area. The reason it is not developing well, therefore, the chances of the tropical cyclone formed here will be less. If you have seen the images of the, let me show you the images of the tropical cyclones first, then you will understand. For the people who have seen it and for the people who have not seen it, for all of them I have taken this satellite images. If you consider the cyclones, how they look like this. Can you see the curved part? Can you see the curved shape of the cyclones? How are they being formed? This wind system and this deflection which has been formed in the cyclones is because of the Coriolis force. If Coriolis force wouldn't have been there would not have been any curved shape. A curved shape which you are getting here, this wouldn't be possible if you would not have the Coriolis force, right? That is what we have done in climatology. It is giving the deflection. Coriolis force is related to the deflection of the wind. Pressure gradient is related to the speed of the wind. Pressure gradient का मतलब high pressure और low pressure में difference, right? क्या speed होगा मेरी wind का depends upon the pressure gradient. How much my wind is going to get deflected depends upon the Coriolis force. So these are two different things. Do not get confused. Okay. Now understand this curved part that this cyclone is taken is because of the Coriolis force. I think till here it should be clear to all of you. It is because of the Coriolis force. Now this shape, the kind of a shape that it's going to have, the kind of the movement it's going to have, it's going to differ in both the hemisphere, right? In the northern hemisphere, it will be anti-clockwise. Southern hemisphere, it will be clockwise. Same rule that we have done. In the northern hemisphere, it deflects towards right. In the southern hemisphere, it deflects towards left. That is the case. Now we have done temperate cyclones. In temperate cyclones, we have discussed one thing, that they are formed because of the fronts, right? But is it the case in the tropical cyclones also? Okay, tropical cyclones में भी ये case है that it can form at any point of time. It does not depend upon type of a season which is present at a particular area. No, you need a specificity. You need a specific kind of weather. You need a specific kind of conditions to have tropical cyclones. What are these conditions? The first condition is that you should have low pressure. And low pressure is only possible when there is going to be more insolation. For example, abhi in May and April, you will see the start of the cyclones will start forming in the which area? In particularly Bay of Bengal area, right? And when they start forming, why are they forming in particular area? Reason being because the low pressure systems, the low pressure regions will be created in Bay of Bengal. And what is the reason behind that? The insolation. Definitely, the sun has come towards northern hemisphere. There will be the creation of the low pressure system here. So Coriolis forces must, and low pressure system is another. I hope that you have got till this till here, right? Now, having said that, it is also important to consider that this low pressure system is not enough. If you say तो वो अगर लो प्रेशर सिस्टम है तो पूरे एरिया में लो प्रेशर सिस्टम है, पूरे नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर में लो प्रेशर सिस्टम है, right? If you talk about the, I'm just talking about the tropical and subtropical areas for now, not going into the polar and temperate regions. अभी हम वहाँ पे नहीं बात करें. I'm just talking about the tropical and subtropical regions. तो अगर आपका नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर में लो प्रेशर सिस्टम आ गया because the sun has gone to the northern hemisphere, so it should be the low pressure system everywhere, right? तो हर जगह cyclones आने चाहिए. Then why the cyclones are not coming? Because again there has to be certain degree of conditions. And what conditions I'm considering? That you should have first of all 60 meter of the sea which should be warmed. It can be more, it can be little less, but this should be the condition. It should be not that temporary low pressure system has been formed and then it's over. Then in that case, a low pressure systems will, in that case, cyclones will not be formed. At least 60 meter of the water, the width, the depth, it should have the warmness. It should have the, it should be so well developed that it can fuel it up, right? The moment it will fuel it up, क्या होगा? उसका intensity maintain रहेगा. To maintain the intensity, I'm talking about this particular condition. Otherwise, it will go away. And if you can see, I have talked about the tropical cyclones from the sea. I'm talking about it. Sea may develop hoga. It will develop there. Why I'm talking about the oceans and the sea in this tropical cyclone? Because they are formed in oceans and seas only. Unlike temperate cyclones, which can be formed on the land and the oceans both. Your temperate can be formed on the land and the oceans both, but not the tropical cyclones. They are formed over the water bodies, right? And if you have seen the recent news, I've also covered in today's, I am going to cover in today's class about the recent events which have happened. If I talk about the recent events like Mitag, abhi aapka cyclone aaya tha, if you have gone through the current affairs, there are many cyclones which have come. So we are also going to cover that. What was the intensity of those cyclones? How was it? There was a typhoon also which has come. Why such kind of typhoons etc. are occurring, and why they are causing the destruction? Tropical cyclones are associated with the destruction. They will create the destruction much more than the temperate. Temperate are not all, they are not so not creating destruction, but yes, cyclones, hurricanes, typhoons. And why three names we will discuss? Because cyclones can be known with the different names. Willy Willy, it's called in Australia Willy Willy. In North Atlantic area, in the Pacific Ocean of the Western Pacific, sorry, the Eastern Pacific Ocean, it is known as, or particularly called as a North Pacific Ocean, it is known as hurricanes. In Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic and North Pacific, it's known as hurricanes. Then you have typhoon in your Pacific Oceans, Indian Oceans, and particularly Indian Oceans, you call it as, and above, cyclones. In Australia, Willy Willy. So there are different names through which we call it up. And all as in, they're very destructible in nature. If you see the speed of the cyclones, especially the tropical cyclone can vary from 120 km per hour. This can vary from 120 km per hour to 320 km per hour. Right? And this speed is much more. Somewhere it is written in miles per hour, mph. If it's written like that, mph, it is miles per hour. So consider this point, that when you're talking about the miles per hour, when you're talking about the kilometer per hour, do not get confused. See the units, right? So one thing definitely, the temperature which should be there is 27 degree and above. That should be the temperature. The width we have discussed, Coriolis force we have discussed. We have discussed that there should be the creation of the low pressure centers here. Right, we'll further develop into that. It's not that easy. We'll further develop into that. Yes, online students. Okay, so that is the point. Now understand, this is getting the low pressure centers. Low pressure region are being created in this area. When the low pressure system, low pressure regions are being created in this area, it will create the air to rise up. Isn't it? This is very easy to understand. As the air gets warmed up, it rises up also. And why it will rise up? Because the tendency of the air to ascend while it is getting warming up. It will evaporate, right? There will be an evaporation which will be done in this particular area. जैसे ही evaporate होगा, it will do what? It is doing latent heat of evaporation is there. While something is evaporating, what it is doing? Can you see that it is taking the energy and going up? The moment it will go up, At certain stage, it has to cool down also. That is what we have read. Normal lapse rate. When it's something cool, the air goes up. It has a normal lapse rate, 6 degrees Celsius per kilometer. जैसे जैसे ऊपर जाएगा वैसे वैसे the temperature of an air will decrease. Right? As it goes up, temperature of an air decrease. As it decreases, what happens? It starts to form clouds. Right? The moment it forms clouds, what will happen then? There could be a possibility of rains. But in this case, what is happening? The low pressure system which are being created. This is a formative stage basically. Abhi, the intensity that we require to form the cyclones has not been created yet. वो अभी develop नहीं हुआ है. To create that intensity, you need much more than this. This is just the initial stage. We call it as the formative stages of the cyclones. ये आपकी initial stage है. In the second stage, in the third stage, when the intermediate mature stage will come, and then we'll talk about it. The moment it is going up, it is bound to create some kind of clouds, etc. And what else will happen? It will also attract the different air masses from different places. It will act as the center of attraction. It will take in lot of air masses towards it, attract lot of air masses from the different places towards it. Reason being because it's a low pressure system here. Whenever there is a low pressure system, universal rule of climatology. Winds always blow from high pressure to low pressure. Always blow from high pressure to low pressure. Therefore, the wind will blow from here again and again, and it will come. One more important thing, this air is also a moist air since it is forming on the sea. This air is supposed to be a moist air. It is going up. It is in the form of a steam now. Are you understanding this thing? That once the air is going up, it is in the form of steam. The steam is there. So it's a good energy source. Since it's going in the form of a steam, it's going upwards. What will happen? There will be more and more air which will be collected here. क्यों हो रही है air यहाँ पे collect? Because as the air is moving up, it is creating a replacement. जैसे air ऊपर गई, this air will come and take the place. It will go up. Again, air ऊपर गई, it will take the place and this will go up. Again, it is coming. There is a vacuum. Vacuum in sense there is some kind of emptiness which has been created. It will come up and it will go upwards. Now, very important term which I'm going to use, it's a technical term which you call it as vertical shear movement. Vertical shear means that to create a cyclone, you do not have to create lot of movement of this particular column. The moment ये ज़्यादा vertical movement होगा इसका, the formation of cyclones would be difficult. To create a cyclone, you need that the movement of this should be minimum. And you call it as absence of vertical shear or absence of the movement of this column. Right? Therefore, what will happen? This area, which is having, it is moist first of all. Why moist? Because it is taking the water. It is moist, steam में है. इसमें क्या है? What is having? It's having the water. Water is converted into vapors. So it is going up and collecting over here. But as it will cool down, I'm showing it on the other page. But as it will cool down, certain part of it will descend. Because the tendency of the air is to descend while it's cool down. ये तो कुछ part तो descend करेगा, right? And then the air which is collected over here will diverge like this. Will diverge. Right? It will diverge outside. Now this, since this is descending, and you know the rule, when the air is descending, there will be no formation of clouds or rain in this particular column. यहाँ पे कोई क्लाउड और रेन नहीं होगा बीच के पार्ट में. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट. प्लीज डू नॉट गेट कंफ्यूज. देयर विल बी नो oil, there will be no cloud formation, there will be no rain in this part. Reason being because the air is descending over here, and whenever the air will descend, it is supposed to have no clouds, it is supposed to have no rainfall, and therefore we call this as the eye of the cyclone. This is called as eye of a cyclone. Even in the satellite images that I was showing to you, I was referring to you, you could see a small hole in between. That is nothing but an eye. What does that mean? That eye is supposed to be there. But क्या eye में कोई movement होगा? क्या eye के अंदर कुछ भी? Because it's not having a ज़्यादा उसके अंदर ascending नहीं हो रहा है. Because ascend होगा तभी clouds form होंगे, right? But that particular area is having what? उसमें वहां पे कुछ एयर नीचे की तरफ आएगा बिकॉज यू हैव another condition also which is called normal lapse rate. Normal lapse rate का सिंपल इजी मतलब है जैसे जैसे एयर ऊपर जाती है वैसे वैसे आपका टेम्परेचर डिक्रीज करता है. क्यों करता है? बिकॉज as you're going up the density is also decreasing. Density decrease होती है आपका एयर का टेम्परेचर डिक्रीज होता जाता है एंड देन जो आपका टेम्परेचर डिक्रीज हो जाएगा इट हैज टू डिसेंड. Getting it? Right? This is I. Before I move further, I would like to give you some notes on this, right? Are you ready to write? लिखिए. There's so much to explain in this. Abhi, it is just the starting because we'll talk about the formative stages, we'll talk about the dissipations. बहुत कुछ है अभी. It's just the starting. Why I'm going so slow? So that you should understand this important topic because cyclones are one of the important temperate and tropical. Both are extremely important for the optionals. And also it will help you in the GS, no doubt about it. Write down conditions. First of all, write down conditions for the formation of tropical cyclones. Write down conditions for the formation of tropical cyclones. Write down conditions for the formation of tropical cyclones. Write down. They develop in the warm sea. They develop in the warm sea, having a temperature of 27 degrees Celsius. They develop in the warm sea, having a temperature of 27 degrees Celsius. Next point, they are season dependent. They are season dependent. Bracket में लिखेंगे. They develop in summers. They develop in summers in northern hemisphere. In northern hemisphere. As I told you, you will never find the tropical cyclones been formed at 5 degree to 5 degree north and south. क्यों नहीं मिलेगा 5 degree north and south में? Coriolis force ही नहीं है. आपको विंड को घुमाने, साइक्लोन्स को घुमाने के लिए भी तो क्या चाहिए? यू नीड Coriolis force. आपको विंड को you have to rotate, you have to make such kind of conditions, but there is no such prerequisites present over there. Since they are not present, there will be no formation of the cyclones. Write down. It requires higher value of Coriolis force, and therefore they do not originate between, and therefore they do not originate between 5 degree north and 5 degree south. It can vary. It somewhere it will be written 8 degree. So it's okay. You take 5 degree north and 5 degree south. Write down. They do not originate between 5 degree north to 5 degree south. Write down. Next, the latent heat of condensation The latent heat of condensation is the source of energy or is a source of energy or the engine of tropical cyclones. It is the engine of tropical. देखिए, if the latent heat of condensation will not be there, then what will happen? It will not develop. These tropical cyclones will not be developing for a longer period of time. Right? Write down. The latent heat of condensation is the source of energy, which are the engines of tropical cyclone. Hence, tropical cyclones only originate. Hence, tropical cyclones only originate in oceans and seas. They only originate in oceans and seas where there is abundant moist heat. Where there is abundant moist heat. That's all. Write down next point. Tropical cyclones are associated with ITCZ. ITCZ full form, Intertropical Convergence Zone. Tropical cyclones are associated with ITCZ bracket. There is a convergence of several air masses. Convergence of several air masses. What air masses are they talking about? ITCZ पे क्या होगा आपका? If this is an equator, this is an ITCZ. What will happen in this area? Convergence. What kind of convergence it is talking about? This convergence. These are nothing but your trade winds. Trade winds converging at the ITCZ. So that means different air masses, different trade winds are coming at that area. And since different trade winds are coming at that area, it will come in the low pressure area of this Bay of Bengal. Right? This is also, you have to write that there is a convergence of several warm air masses. Please mention warm air masses. Therefore, when ITCZ is away from the equator, therefore, when ITCZ is away from the equator, tropical cyclones are still formed. Tropical cyclones are still formed. Right? So the next line. This region is characterized by low atmospheric pressure. Low atmospheric pressure. Definitely, it has to have a low atmospheric pressure, and that too for a longer period of time. This is all associated with the low pressure. It needs to have a low pressure systems. It needs to have a low pressure systems, comma, high winds and heavy rainfall. High winds and heavy rainfall. Winds generated by the cyclonic storm, write down, winds generated by the cyclonic storms are very strong and exceeds 119 kilometer per hour to 320 kilometer per hour. That is the range. Write down, winds generated by the cyclonic storm are very strong and exceeds 119 kilometer per hour, and in extreme cases they can achieve the value of 320 kilometer per hour. Write down, these tropical cyclones are known with the different names in the different parts of the world. these tropical cyclones are named with different names in the different parts of the world. For example, in the North Pacific, they are called hurricanes. In the North Pacific and North Atlantic, they are known as hurricanes. In the North Pacific and the North Atlantic Oceans, they are known as hurricanes, comma. In the Western North Pacific, around the Philippines, comma, Japan, comma, China. Philippines, comma, Japan, comma, China, they are known as typhoons. They are known as typhoons. So stop. In the Western South Pacific, in the Western, I mentioned the Western South Pacific particularly, right? And Indian Ocean, they are known as cyclones. And for the prelims also, please do not forget to touch these topics, your cyclones, your hurricanes, your typhoons, which have come in the past 1 year. Then this could be a probable question in the prelims. So please do not forget it. Even I am going to start this marathon with you where I'll be doing the world mapping. So there we will discuss all of these things. And you also do your part. Start doing it. Start revising all these factors, people who are targeting prelims this year. Right? लिखिए around Philippines, Japan and China, storms are referred to as typhoons. Storms are referred to as typhoons. And South Pacific and Indian Ocean, they are known as cyclones. And in Australia, they are known as Willy Willy. In Australia, they are known as Willy Willy. Right? अब सारे cyclones एक जैसे नहीं होते. There are also stages. For example, there will be cyclones which will be less severe. There are cyclones which are more severe. If you have seen the government advisory, government this thing awareness campaign, etc. So not all the time that the cyclone comes, the government create a lot of awareness like that, because they know that some kind of cyclones which are coming are not that intense. And since they're not that intense, they need not to evacuate the whole area. But there are certain cyclones where they need to have the preparedness. They need to have all kind of the equipments with them. They need to have the awareness campaign in that particular area, and they do understand that if, see, the point is, then when different kind of cyclones come, since they are lying in a different category, they are different category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending upon what is the severity, what is the severeness of that particular cyclone. So hence the strategy of the preparedness, right? So when we will see the types of the cyclone in the examples, we'll also see that what was the category of that, whether they have caused destruction to a larger area or not. The term that you will see in the cyclones is the landfall. Landfall is that कितनी severity से वो land पर आया है, right? If you will see in Jamaica, there's a place in the Caribbean Sea where you will see how they have come. What was the landfall speed? So that is what, through that way we measure the destruction level and how disastrous they are. Okay. So next, write down life cycle of tropical cyclone. Write down. We're starting the life cycle also of the tropical cyclone. Likhiye. The life cycle of the tropical cyclone can be divided into formative stage, comma, mature stage, or dissipating bracket में लिखिए decaying stage. You use either of these words, दोनों ही सही हैं. You use dissipating, you use decaying, दोनों ही सही हैं. Online students, please tell me. I'm waiting for your response. Yes. I'm giving 1 minute for the doubts. Yes, online students, just let me know your doubts first and then I'll move further. Okay, clear, very good. Okay, all of you are clear? Since you're not having any doubts, so shall I move? Right? All right. So now we have to discuss about the next stage. Like what is happening here? See, as I told you, this density is increasing here. The moment density increases, क्या होगा? Density जैसे increase हो जाएगा, it is further, it's saturated. It cannot have more than this. Then what will happen? It will come down, it will descend. And the further the this condition will intensify. जब ये condition का जो level है वो peak हो जाएगा, मतलब जब intensification हो जाएगा इस condition का, then there will be a formation of what you called as cumulonimbus clouds. There would be formation of cumulonimbus clouds. Why cumulonimbus clouds are being created here? See, relatively this surrounding area of this area, obviously because this is a low pressure system, it means the temperatures are high. And surrounding areas का जो temperature है वो कैसा है? ज़्यादा, relatively more. Sorry, relatively less. When the temperatures are less, the pressures are going to be high, right? So here you are having a low pressure system, means temperatures are high, and relatively the surrounding areas are going to have less temperatures, because what they are doing, they are taking away, they are trapping the heat. This particular wall, this particular column is trapping the heat, and when this is trapping the heat, what will happen? The surrounding air will become relatively cooler. I'm using the word relatively, please focus. Okay, it will become relatively cooler, and since this will become relatively cooler, it can lead to the formation of these cumulonimbus clouds. When these these clouds are formed, and these clouds are not like that, they are found at a very low level, they are found sometimes at 45,000 feet, they're found at more than that, sometimes they're found at 30,000 feet, then it varies, the height can vary. But imagine that the air, the trapping of the heat is there from the surroundings, and then why it is taking the heat first of all? What is the reason? Online students, Munmi, Ishan, Suraj, every one of you, why they are trapping the heat? What is the reason behind that? Because this is an area of low pressure, and low pressure is doing what? It's a moist air, right? Jahan pe sea is there, what will happen? It is going to get evaporated, and it will be a source of energy. This is the biggest source of energy over here. It is moist, it is low pressure, temperatures are high in this area, but the only thing is some part of the air is descending in between. Reason? Because the density over there has become so much that finally it has to come down. Right? So this is the area which is trapping all the heat. And when this is the area which is trapping, I'm talking about this particular area, this trapping of the heat is happening, it will further create the formation of the cumulonimbus clouds. When the cumulonimbus clouds have been formed on the sides, it will lead to what? These are formed on the sides, and these are not formed, all of them are not formed only at once, they are formed in stages. And this is particularly, this is known as your, I'll use different, and this is known as your wall. If you see in the images, I do have an image like this. See here, cumulus stage, 3 to 5 mile height, first stage. See, what is the feet written over here? 20,000 feet. What is the temperature? 32 Fahrenheit. Right? Cloud formation, air is going up. Cumulus stage, which you call formative stage, we बोल सकते हैं उसको. You call it as formative stage only. Then what happens in the mature stage? Again, it is rising up. Intensification of this is happening. Why intensification? Because air masses are coming from the different places, and since the air masses are coming from different places and the prerequisites are still there, it will intensify the conditions. So intensification of the condition is happening in the second stage. और जैसे जैसे intensification होगा, the formation of this is, can you see, this is a kind of a divergence which is happening. This is what I was showing you through my diagram. This is a divergence which is happening here, right? Because there will be a stage where they will become what? This air will become heavy. इससे ऊपर नहीं जा सकता. Air has become saturated. Then it will go like this, and then further, this is your another stage. This is your dissipating stage. We have not reached till there. We'll have a further discussion on that. This is a decaying stage. But look here, how the air is going. देखिए आप कुछ air आपके ऊपर जा रही है on the sides. Can you see this air is going up? First stage में आप देखेंगे सारी air आपके ऊपर जा रही है. This is going upwards only. But in this stage, some part of the air is going upwards. But can you see this blue color? Some arrows. Some air is coming down. Some part of the air is coming down. This some part of the air which is coming down is which stage? Is which area? It is your eye wall. Because the density over there has become so much that now it needs to descend. And also, second reason, as it's going up, little part of it, it's going, density increases, but it has to come down. Okay. Now look in another chart. This is an eye. This is a bird view. Just satellite images there. आप उसको ऊपर से देखिए. This is a bird view and how it is rotating. अभी किस डायरेक्शन में जाएगा depends upon what is your hemisphere. कौन सा hemisphere थे उस पे depend करेगा. These are the worlds. This has been formed in Madagascar. This is a Madagascar is an island near Africa. Here you're having the formation of cyclones. This is Indian Ocean. Right? Write down further. Write down about the stages. देखिए. Write down about formative stage. पहला जो first stage which I have discussed is a formative stage. It is developed. It starts to develop. It is starting to get developed in the formative stage. Write down formative stage. The energy for the tropical cyclone is provided. The energy for the tropical cyclone is provided. The energy for the tropical cyclones is provided. Write down. By the transfer of heat from the warm sea surface. By the transfer of heat from the warm sea surface to the overlying 8. Overlying 8 means AIT, this. Overlying 8, this one, this area. Overlying 8, AIT. Full stop. Primarily, the transfer of energy takes place primarily, the transfer of energy takes place by evaporation of heat. As I told you, energy means what? Steam. Steam is a source of energy, a very strongest source of energy. So transfer of energy takes in the form of evaporation. Right, on the transfer of energy takes place by evaporation from the sea surface. From the sea surface. Full stop. As a warm and moist air rises, as the warm and moist air rises, what is the condition for the air to rise? It is getting warm up. It will rise. When it will rise, it will expand. It expands and then cools. And then cools. And it becomes saturated. This is a stage where it will become saturated. It becomes saturated. And release latent heat. And release latent heat due to condensation. Due to condensation means what? It will change into vapor to water, and this will result into release of energy. What energy are we talking about? हम बात कर रहे हैं heat energy की. There would be release of energy which is hidden. Latent का मतलब होता है hidden form of energy. First of the air above the disturbance is warmed and moistened. The air above the disturbance is warmed and moistened by this process. अब ऊपर वाली एयर भी क्या हो जाएगी? आपकी वार्म एंड मॉइस्ट हो जाएगी. ये वाला एयर ऊपर गया, व्हाट इट विल गिव? ये भी पूरा एरिया मॉइस्ट हो जाएगा, वार्म हो जाएगा, राइट? दिस विल गेट वार्म अप, वार्म्ड, राइट? राइट डाउन. The area above the disturbance is warmed and moistened by this process. जैसे ही ऊपर जाएगा, एयर सैचुरेट हो गई. जब एयर ऊपर के एरिया में नीचे तो यू आर हैविंग द मॉइस्ट एयर एंड वार्म एट द सेम टाइम. जैसे जैसे ऊपर जा रहा है, इट इज गोइंग अप बिकॉज असेंड हो रहा है, बिकॉज इट इज वार्म. As it is warm, it is also expanding. The reason is expanding is as air goes up, it expands also. ऊपर जाने के बाद the air cannot go much further because उसका एक स्टेज है, एक end point है. We call it as normal mass rate, and then it will get saturated. The moment it gets saturated, it has to convert into some form of cloud. Clouds are nothing but the formation, the accumulation of the droplets only. And then what will happen? These droplets which have been created, it will release the energy. जो इनके अंदर थी, कौन सी energy थी? There would be release of heat energy. This release of heat energy to the surrounding areas. और सराउंडिंग एरियाज पे क्या अगर रिलीज करेगा एनर्जी, क्या ऊपर का एरिया भी हीटेड अप हो जाएगा? यस, इट विल गेट हीटेड अप. द मोमेंट इट विल गेट हीटेड अप, इट विल फर्दर इंटेंसिफाई द सिचुएशन. और हीटेड अप हो गया, इंटेंसिफाई करेगा सिचुएशन को, और कुछ एयर आपकी क्या करेगी? नीचे की तरफ आएगी, सम पार्ट ऑफ इट. ठीक है, लिखिए. This results in higher temperature in the column of disturbed 8. Disturbed 8. Disturbed 8. AIT. As compared to the surroundings. अब सराउंडिंग से ज्यादा यहाँ पे ज्यादा टेम्परेचर है. क्यों? बिकॉज यहाँ पे आपका रिलीज हो गया है हीट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ लेटेंट हीट ऑफ कंडेंसेशन. ये एरिया आपका कूलर है एज कंपेयर टू दिस एरिया. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, The above said situation is required. The above said situation is required to be sustained for the energy supply. अब आप इमेजिन करिए, ये वाला पूरा सिचुएशन मैंने हटा दिया, ये कुछ है ही नहीं, यहाँ पे कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा, आपको लगता है ये कंटिन्यू रहेगा फॉर अ लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. What I would need for something to sustain, for this particular thing to go on, I would need that this should be there. The conditions, the prerequisites which are required for this should be sustained. Now, this is what is this is happening, that if this particular column is being not intensified, then the maturity would not be occurring here, right? अगर ये सारी conditions नहीं होंगी तो cyclones भी नहीं होंगे. So the above said situation is required to be sustained for energy supply to continue and disturbance to grow further and further, and disturbance to grow further and further. Write down. The supply chain may stop. The supply chain may stop if the sea surface is not sufficiently warm. Very important point for the prelims as well. The prelims के लिए भी important है, please underline करिए. This supply chain may be stopped if sea surface is not sufficiently warmed up and depth of the warm surface is not adequate. And depth of the warm surface is not adequate. This is because moderate disturbance may cause convective buildup and rain. But to sustain it, it requires warmer water layer, which is of at least 60 meter. मतलब देखिए, सिंपल मतलब है that अगर आपका ये कंडीशंस नहीं होंगे तो what will be the case? जब आपकी कंडीशंस ही नहीं होंगे, अगर ये सिर्फ नॉर्मल कन्वेक्टिव बिल्डअप है, कन्वेक्टिव बिल्डअप का मतलब है that it has been done because there was some insulation over an area, there was lot of insulation, there was building up of ascending here, और वहां पे क्लाउड्स बने और रेनफॉल होगी और आपका ये सी सरफेस जो नीचे है, दिस सी सरफेस गॉट कूल डाउन, क्योंकि आपका रेनफॉल हो गया, इट गॉट कूल डाउन and then everything is sorted. But in order to continue this process, you would need a condition which is too much required for the formation of this, which is your sea surface should be continuously warm, and not only your thinner layer of the sea, which is you can see, or maybe the very narrow layer, it needs to have that at least 60 meter of it should have the warmness. There should be proper supply chain from this particular area. Warmness आपका build रहना चाहिए. Write down next condition. There should be, this is required, that there should be flow of moist and warm air. There should be flow of moist and warm air into pre-existing disturbance. For further development to occur. Next, the rising air increases the temperature. The rising air increases the temperature at the core. This is your core. The rising air will increase the temperature at the core. This is rising. It will increase the temperature at the core. The rising air will increase the temperature at the core of the disturbance through release of latent heat. आपको याद है यहाँ पे डिसेंडिंग हो रहा था, दिस एरिया इट इज डिसेंडिंग. जैसे डिसेंड हो रहा है तो क्यों हो रहा है? बिकॉज इसका हीट रिलीज हो रहा है. हीट कहाँ रिलीज होगा? यहाँ पे रिलीज हो जाएगा. जब हीट यहाँ पे रिलीज हो जाएगा तो ये और इंटेंसिफाई हो जाएगा, दिस ये वाला एरिया. This will be more intensified, और ये more intensify हो जाएगा, so definitely it will create the condition that we are looking for. It increases, write down, the rising air increases the temperature at the core of the disturbance through the release of latent heat, through the release of latent heat and direct heat transfer from sea surface. Full stop. This results in decrease in the atmospheric pressure. This results in decrease in the atmospheric pressure at the center of the disturbance. यहाँ पे क्या होगा? There will be decrease of the atmospheric pressure at the center of the disturbance. This one, decrease at the center of the disturbance. And decreasing pressure cause flow of the winds. Decreasing pressure cause flow of the winds with increased speed around the center. With increased speed around the center. Right? अब देखिए, how the movement of the air will happen. The movement of air will happen like this. If cyclones will be developed, the outer layer will rotate at a very high speed. It will rotate at this outer layer. This is the wind which is rotating all of these area. Why the wind is like that? Because outside you are having a high pressure, inside you are having a low pressure. Winds flow from high pressure to low pressure, and hence there would be curved path. Why curved path? Your concept of Coriolis force. Again, it is rotating. अगर they would have been, see, अगर conditions होती कि आपकी Coriolis force है ही नहीं यहाँ पे, then straight line या फिर curve नहीं करना है, पूरा curve नहीं करना है, so that's it. No, there is nothing which is happening here, because for this to form you need to have a curved path. A curved path कैसे आएगा आपका Coriolis force से, and then this will be formed. This is how it will be formed. The reason for this is that you need to have a certain degree of, you need to have a Coriolis force present, and you do have Coriolis force present in the above 8 degree north and 8 degree south. के बाद you have a good amount of Coriolis force, and it goes further and further increases, and it's max at the poles. Soumya, you joined late. What happened? You missed major chunk of it. Okay, see the recorded lectures, don't worry. And actually we are going live on YouTube, so if you want to catch up from there, you can do watch the video, right? From where have you joined? From okay, done. And in the morning classes also I was discussing this thing, that you need to understand that PYQs are really important as far as your options are considered, especially in geography. Your PYQs are extremely important, and when you have to develop this thing, you have to see that how the applied question have been asked. And recently I have seen the pattern of geography that people, the examiners are, they are asking, UPSCs is asking the questions which are applied in nature. Although there are questions which are moderate level, there are questions which are very direct, but still you have to see the PYQs. In the answer writing session, I was telling you the same thing. So there are certain concepts which, for example, I was discussing the thunderstorm. So, little bit related, right? Yes, everyone understood? Shall we write about the second stage of it? Formative stage done? Formative stage done or not? Intensification done? 3 points, 3 key points from the first stage. Latent heat of condensation. There would be formative stage में there would be convective buildup, but for the further to intensify, you would need the surface should get, it should be supply of the warmness, supply of the warm moist air continuously. The air masses will come here. Air masses are coming from the different direction, and then it will build up in the northern hemisphere in which period? Summers. Okay, Coriolis force definitely it has to be there. B लिखिए, write down B. The second region is the eye wall. Now we are going to discuss about eye wall. The second region is the eye wall, which is about 15 to 30 kilometer. This one, which is about 15 to 30 kilometer. 15 kilometer to 30 kilometer. This is your eye wall. From the center, write down, in this region, wind speed is maximum. In this region, the wind speed is maximum, full stop. This region is characterized by extremely strong winds. This region is characterized by extremely strong winds because यहाँ पे this area I'm talking about, it is having maximum speed because area it is attracting what, all the high pressure air towards it, और ये सबसे ज़्यादा आपका low pressure का area होगा. Therefore सबसे ज़्यादा low pressure means difference सबसे ज़्यादा, high pressure minus low pressure. अगर difference सबसे ज़्यादा यहाँ पर आपको मिलेगा तो speed भी सबसे ज़्यादा यहाँ पर होगी. यहाँ पे कम, फॉर एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे और कम, हाई प्रेशर माइनस लो प्रेशर, यहाँ पे स्पीड और कम, हाई प्रेशर माइनस लो प्रेशर, स्पीड और कम, तो स्पीड डिफर थोड़ा थोड़ा करेगी. ठीक है, बट डोंट गेट इनटू सो मच ऑफ डिटेल, इतना डिटेल में कोई पूछते नहीं है, बट यस ओनली फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग आई वाज एक्सप्लेनिंग. राइट, ऑन द सेकंड रीजन इज द आई वॉल which is about 15 to 30 kilometer from the center. Right, in this region wind is maximum. This region is characterized by extremely strong winds. Underline these characteristics, extremely strong winds, and it's responsible for, and it is responsible for all types of destruction, all types of destruction and calamities factor of a cyclone. Maximum wind speed is observed at 1000 feet. Maximum wind speed is observed at 1000 feet. It is observed at 1000 feet above the surface. 1000 feet above the surface. The area is also characterized by heavy to extremely heavy rainfall. The area is also characterized by heavy to extremely heavy rainfall. Next point, the clouds can vertically go up to, the clouds can vertically go up to 45,000 feet. The cloud can vertically go up to 45,000 feet. Next, there is a vertical upward movement of air. There is a vertical upward movement of air with great vertical velocity. Next, the updraft means the air which is going up. The updraft of UP and DRAFT, updraft becomes stable when the air reaches tropopause. When the air reaches tropopause. Here the air will diverge. Here the air will diverge or flows outwards due to Coriolis force. The outward flowing air, due to Coriolis force, the outward flowing air creates anticyclonic aloft. It creates anticyclonic aloft. Write down, surrounding by the eye wall. Surrounding by the eye wall, this is eye wall. Surrounding by the eye wall is the eye. Surrounding by the eye wall is the eye in the center. Surrounding by the eye wall is the eye in the center. Surrounding by the eye wall is the eye in the center. in the center. Winds in the eye are light or calm. Winds in the eye are light or calm. यहाँ पे calm क्यों है? Because it is coming down, descending. देखिए, do not forget, आई का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स डिफरेंट है, आई वॉल का डिफरेंट, दोनों को प्लीज मिक्स मत करना. आई वॉल पे सबसे मैक्सिमम ज्यादा स्पीड है. क्यों है मैक्सिमम स्पीड? बिकॉज जैसे ही ये आई का जो दिस एयर इज कमिंग डाउन, इट्स डिसेंडिंग ओवर देयर, सो देयर विल बी रिलीज ऑफ द हीट, और रिलीज होगा तो ये और ज्यादा हीटेड अप होता जाएगा और इंटेंसिफाइड होता जाएगा. सो दैट्स व्हाई द स्पीड इज मैक्सिमम हियर. लेकिन ये आई वॉल है, दिस इज आई, देयर इज अ डिफरेंस. Write down. Surrounded by eye wall is the eye in the center. Wind in the eye are light or calm, and they are also characterized by clear sky. There would be no clouds here. They are also characterized by clear sky. इस एरिया में नहीं होंगे, बाकी सब एरिया में होंगे. There are no clouds. In the eye, there are no clouds. There are no clouds, comma, very low atmospheric pressure, which may be as low as very low atmospheric pressure, which may be as low as 960 HPA. Full stop. There is some amount of subsidence. Subsidence means to come down. There is some amount of subsidence of air in the eye. Full stop. Subsidence results in compression and increase in temperature. It leads to compression and increase in temperature. And hence, temperature at the eye is 5 degrees more than the surrounding areas. और यहाँ पे क्लाउड्स क्यों नहीं होंगे? सी, बिकॉज एज दिस एरिया, दिस आई वॉल के पास, दिस एयर इज वेरी वार्म. सिंस दिस इज वेरी वार्म, it can still hold more moisture. Because if air is warm, then it can have the more space. Molecules are having more space, so it can take more moisture, right? So we are not discussing the intensification and mature stage as of now, because you have to write more in that. So let's discuss about some of the examples that we can discuss about the cyclones, typhoons which have occurred recently in 2025. So this is a hurricane Melissa, right? This hurricane Melissa, which has come in Jamaica. There is another which is there. I'll be discussing about all of these examples. Further moving into the next stage, I'll be giving you some sort of examples from the real incidents which have happened. Now this is a super typhoon Ragasa, and then we are having this Mitag. So all these cyclones which have come recently, let's have a discussion on them, because it will give you some sort of idea that if we are talking about this type of cyclones, that how the cyclones have been formed. And you can also read and take down the data if you require. But it is also important to note that these all cyclones are there, but it's not important that all these cyclones should create the destruction all the time, because the level, the category is related to it, right? अगर category आपका बहुत severe है, then definitely it will lead to the kind of a destruction that we have talked about. But if the category is not that severe, then the conditions might be different. Now it is also important for the prelims. It can come for the prelims. Now when you will writing about all these cyclones in your examination, जब आप अपने prelims में या फिर अपना मेंस ज्योग्राफी ऑप्शन में आप अपना जीएस में मेंस में अपना आंसर लिख रहे होंगे, तो यू हैव टू आल्सो राइट द करंट एग्जांपल्स, इंक्लूड करंट एग्जांपल्स. जब तक आप करंट एग्जांपल्स यूज नहीं करेंगे, डायग्राम्स नहीं बनाएंगे, डोंट एक्सपेक्ट दैट यू विल गेट फुल मार्क्स, right? Full marks, I mean to say that obviously nobody is getting full in any of the question, but I'm saying obviously as compared to the toppers. Right? If you have seen the toppers copy, then you can see that how they are making the diagrams, appropriate diagrams everywhere where it is required. So when I'm talking about the hurricane, the first hurricane that I would take is, it has come in October 28. Even if you want to take down for your prelims who are targeting prelims this year, you can take it down. 28th of October, we had Hurricane Melissa, and the intensity was 185 mph. It came in Newport, Jamaica. And it has the strongest landfall. I was talking about the strongest landfall. What is this landfall? Landfall means when it is about to come to the sea coast. The reason when it will come to the sea coast, at what speed it is coming and hitting over there, it depends a lot on how much destruction it will create in that particular area. If it is coming with a very high intensity, obviously destruction is going to be more. But also understand one thing: on the land they are having the maximum friction because of the topographic relief. Different topographic relief, it will have the destruction as well. फ्रिक्शन तो होगा ही होगा. फ्रिक्शन होगा तो क्या होगा? Obviously the kind of intensity, क्योंकि सी से उनको क्या मिल रहा था, they were getting fuel because warm air was supplying from the moist. There is a sea there, moisture will keep on coming over there. The land पे ऐसा कोई source है नहीं. Since there is no source on the land, plus there is a friction which is present because of the topographic relief, obviously the speed of the cyclones will decrease. But first, how it is hitting at the particular moment, that also depends that kitna area ko impact karega. Then it was strongest Jamaica mein. If you want to take down, it's important, write down. Again, in the history, there is a hurricane called Allen, which has also come in this particular area, but it's not important, relevant, since we have to do the recent one, right? Next, we can talk about this hurricane. Hurricane we have discussed. Now, there was a devastation in the Black River. Okay. Another cyclone that we have is Mitag. It came in, it impacted, actually it came in Philippines first. There is a land, there's an island called Luzon. It impacted that, and then it further impacted South China. It was severe for South China more than the Philippines. So this is how it came. This particular cyclone Mitag in September 16, 2025. Further, it is saying that it created a tropical depression. The tropical depression kya hai? What is written here? Tropical depression. This tropical depression actually came, this is the stage which has been formed. The area which I've shown like this to you, isko aap kya bologe? You call it as a depression also. There's another name for it. You call it as trough also. Either you call this depression or trough. Then human impact was huge. Casualties were also huge in this. Then there was a super typhoon. You call it as Ragasa. Right? This was also quite destructive. It was category 4, equivalent super typhoon. It made a landfall on Uttar Island. Important for prelims. Please look at all this, what I have mentioned to you on the world map. Very important. It is important to mention all of that on the world map. If you see the wind speed, Melissa was having 190 mph, Ragasa 150 mph. right? Okay. So these are the types of the recent events which have happened. Even in the Bay of Bengal, there are some kind of cyclones which have come, which I am going to do in the mapping session with you all. But for now, you can write all these examples. If you want to take down these examples, you can definitely take it down. All of you online students, have you taken down? Just let me know once so that I can wait for you to jot it down. Yes, all of you, please let me know. Have you taken down or not? Good, good. Okay. Shall we move further then? Okay. Now बात करते हैं फिर intensification mature, which is our next stage. लिखिए intensification and mature stage. Write down. For tropical cyclones to develop, I'm going to extend the class a little bit. Okay. Write down because I have to finish it up. Write down intensification and mature stage. लिखिए. For the tropical cyclones to continue developing, for the tropical cyclones to continue developing, comma, the surrounding airs in the vertical columns, the surrounding airs in the vertical columns, the surrounding airs in the vertical columns, the surrounding air in the vertical columns must be cooler so that stability is maintained at the great heights. It must be cooler so that stability is maintained at the great heights. Must be cooler so the stability is maintained at the great heights. Full stop. The vertical movement of air results in deep convective clouds. The vertical movement of air results in deep convective clouds. This is next stage we are talking. We are talking about mature stage. It results in deep convective clouds. It results in deep convective clouds at the greater heights. Full stop. The rising air at the center, the rising air at the center also draws. The rising air at the center also draws air from the surrounding atmosphere, air at the surrounding atmosphere from 150 kilometer to 5 kilometer, from 150 kilometer to 5 kilometers. Full stop. If this air is sufficiently humid, the vertical movement, the subsequent vertical movement will continue. The subsequent vertical movement will continue. However, if the surrounding air is dry, however, if the surrounding air is dry, the evaporation of some amount of moisture in the center will take place, and this will decrease the temperature in the center. Next, we are going to talk about the last stage, which is your dissipating stage, right? Dissipating stage. अब क्या कंडीशंस रिक्वायर है आपको वीकेंड करने के लिए? यू रिमूव द आई वॉल, एवरीथिंग विल बी वीकेंड. आप ये आई वॉल हटा दीजिए, यू रिमूव द लो प्रेशर सेंटर्स, इट विल बी वीकेंड. So in order to dissipate, you have to remove the eye wall. If you see the third stage of this cyclone formation, you can easily see here that how the centers have been disappearing in the last stage. This is disappearing. It is not developing at the center. This is almost gone. Why they are gone? Because low pressure systems are not that intensified. They are not that pronounced. The reason, obviously, because the conditions which are required to meet the certain conditions are not appropriate, and then there is not happening. And when there will be a landfall, when they will come to the land, obviously they are not getting that supply. The reason they are not getting the supply, they will create some kind of destruction. They'll go a little far away, and then it will stop. ओके सो दिस इज हाउ इट हैज टू हैपन. अब जब भी साइक्लोन आता है, आपको दिल्ली तक भी आता है, बंगाल में जब भी आता है, देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स कि आपको विंड्स आपको फील होती हैं, दैट देयर स्टॉर्म्स आर कमिंग बिकॉज सच एंड सच हैज हिट बे ऑफ बंगाल. सो दे can be some kind of repercussions which can occur in the neighboring states etc. But जो इंटेंसिफिकेशन आपको कोस्ट पे दिखता है, उससे दूर जाके नहीं दिखेगा ज्यादा. The maximum destruction is happening at the coast. Therefore, write down the conditions required to weaken a storm are as follows. First, decrease in moisture feed. Decrease in moisture feed. कहाँ से moisture feed आपका कम करना है? Warm sea surface से. Decrease in moisture feed from warm sea surface. Decrease in moisture feed from moist moisture feed from warm sea surface. Decrease in moisture feed from warm sea surface. Second, mechanism to counter the prevailing wind speed. Mechanism to counter the prevailing wind speed. If, write down, if both above requirements are met, cyclones makes landform. Both of the above requirements are met. दोनों ही requirements कब आपकी meet हो जाती है? जब cyclones landfall, मतलब it's come towards land. Both of the above requirements are met when the cyclones make landfall, comma. Hence there is a rapid weakening of storm. Hence there is a rapid weakening of storm when it arrives on the land. When it arrives on the land. Full stop. In fact, the frictional force, very important. In fact, the frictional force which has been created by the land due to its different topographical relief features. Due to its different topographical relief features. Topographical relief features. Due to its topographical relief features. Full stop. It starts. Full stop. The dissipation is so rapid that system becomes a depression. मतलब पहले की स्टेज ही आ जाएगी, ये वाली स्टेज. The system becomes depression or low pressure area within a day. Write down. It is seen that tropical storm weakens. It is seen that tropical storms weakens over the sea itself. Over the sea itself. Full stop. This happens when the system remains over the sea for longer period of time. For a longer period of time. देखिए, अब टाइप्स ऑफ डिप्रेशंस आप लिख लीजिए, दैट क्या सिवियरिटी रहता है, आपका स्टेजेस क्या क्या होते हैं. Although we are not going to get too much into this, but just write the levels, because as I told you there are some categories which has to be followed. So the first is your पहले स्टेज पे क्या बनेगा, your low pressure areas will be formed. पहले स्टेज में आपका लो प्रेशर एरिया क्रिएट होगा. सेकेंड स्टेज में In the second stage, you will have depressions. Then the prominent depressions will be formed. In the third stage, you will have deep depressions. Next, in the fourth stage, you will have cyclonic storms. Cyclonic storm. Then in the fifth stage, there will be severe cyclonic storms. In sixth, there would be very severe cyclonic storms. I'm writing in short form CS. And in the seventh stage, you will have extremely severe cyclonic storms. Extremely severe cyclonic. And the last one is super cyclonic storms. Ragasa, which came, जो अपने रगासा की बात कही थी in Philippines and not in Philippines, it was in somewhere else. It was an island, right? So that Ragasa is basically was the super cyclonic. It was super cyclonic. Online students, okay, there was a particular island also, although it was in Philippines, but there is a particular island that we talked about here. Yes, this island. I was talking about this island. Right? It is where it is in Philippines only, but you have to mention that exactly where it is, like whether it is on the upper side or the lower side of the Philippines. You have to just see the location exactly where it is lying. So it came in this area. Which particular area I was talking about? I was talking about the Aniutan Island, which is a part of it only. But still, you have to mention the islands when you are referring anything. Although you write Philippines, etc., but you have to mention particularly which island it hit, because it's important to know the information, proper information about something. It makes impact. It creates an impression on the examiner that you know, and then drawing any kind of diagram, any kind of the images will always help. Will always get you better marks. It will always give you an edge over the other people, definitely, right? Okay. Now talking about one more thing. Okay, do we have the time? Almost done. All right. So I wanted to discuss the differences also with respect to this your typhoons and all these things, but it's okay. I wanted to also discuss the difference between the tropical cyclones and the temperate cyclones. We'll have a further discussion in the next class. As I told you, please do not forget to revise and write. Also, for the people who are watching this video on YouTube, I come live for the geography option, and also I'm going to start a marathon on the world mapping very soon for the people who are preparing for prelims, targeting mainly prelims. And also I'll be taking care of the current section of the world geography and the static portion at the same time. So do not forget to watch my world mapping videos, as well as do not forget to watch the live lectures of the geography optional. And the people and aspirants especially who are interested in taking the geography optional, they can definitely come to Plutus IAS. They can talk to us about anything, any guidance you need, any mentorship you need. So that level of clarity will be given to you. And apart from that, any doubt that you are having, just do contact Plutus IAS. Thank you so much. And for the online students especially, please do attend the answer writing session tomorrow in the morning. Every one of you should attend that, because answer writing के बिना it's incomplete. You are doing the syllabus, that means आप answer writing नहीं कर रहे हैं, then you are not completing the whole thing. As I told you, it will give an edge over other aspirants. It will give you some kind of clarity, right? Do you want to take down the assignment questions also? Tropical cyclones pe? You want to do the assignment? Although I have given a lot of assignment questions in the morning on temperate. How many of you really want it? Although I know you will be overloaded with the questions, but anyone who is super ambitious to write all the answers? Munmi, Soumya, Ishan, Suraj, everyone. I'm not going to take the names of all of you. Please. मुझे ऊपर दिख रहे हैं सारे, सिर्फ I'm going to take the name of all. Do you want or not? Just don't write okay. You want to do first temperate. Have you completed temperate? Because today in the morning only I've given. I cannot see your replies. I can see you typing. Use the chat box, or you can just switch on your microphones, please. All right, you want to complete the previous questions first. All right. So thank you so much, class. See you in the next video. See you in the next class. Thank you.